Welcome to today's video here on F1 2019, where we are going to be giving you a talk through of the recent race around Singapore that I did. So we got put in the Toro Rosso for this race, and all the cars were realistic based performance, they weren't all equal. So we were realistically in the second slowest car, which wasn't a great start. First qualifying lap I decided to go out on mediums, because I felt that I had the pace to put in a decent lap time, so we're going to jump on with that lap. So we didn't get the greatest run out the final corner onto this main straight, which doesn't matter too much. The first three corners we weren't too bad round, turn 1 and 2 pretty smooth. This turn 3 we could have gone slightly quicker through, but it's not the end of the world. We got decent traction out of this coming into turn 4, which is a really difficult corner to try and get right. Quite tight up against the wall, quick on the DRS, which then meant we had a really good run down this straight. Coming up to this next sharp left-hander, decent braking. At this point we did have the fastest first sector, that was wiped out the window pretty quickly by people going round on softs. This corner you've got to get really close to the wall, we were a bit slow through there, could have been a bit better. We went a bit wide round here, so I had to slow down coming through the corner. Again, not too bad traction off here. This is a difficult, complex section to try and get right. Decent line through there. Could have clipped the curb a bit better. We ran a bit wide through there. Over the bridge, this is a difficult one. You've got to turn while you brake. We did alright again. Could have been slightly quicker out the corner. We got a bit of wheel spin coming out as well, which meant that our run down this straight wasn't great. Braked into this corner. Decent turn through. Up against the wall using all of the tracks, so that was a good corner. You then get to the section full of chicanes, so you've got this first right left. You've got to be really careful with track limits on the entry to that chicane because it can penalise you big time. You now go under the tunnel, straight through, round to the right, another chicane, and then the final chicane before you hit the final corner. Again, track limits there isn't great, you've got to be careful. Coming down here, this last two corners can make or break your lap. We did alright, not too bad, and then we came across the line and we managed to put in a 140.1. We put in a 140.164, which at that point was the fastest time on anything other than the softs by quite a long way. We were about 2 seconds down in first and second, but with the slower tyre compound it was kind of to be expected. We did then do a lap on the softs and we were about 1.3 seconds up, but I decided to just scrap that lap because it would have been better to start on the mediums but be further down the grid, because the softs just would have fallen off a cliff within 2 or 3 laps after the start. In the end we qualified 7th, which put us in a really good place for the start of the race. So coming up to form on the grid in P7, we were the second highest runner on the mediums. The guy in third had managed to do his lap on the mediums as well. So we were in a fairly good position. The only problem we did have, we were in the middle of the pack, so we'd have to stay out the way of any sort of incidents, any collisions at the start of the race. So as the lights started to count down, flick it into rich fuel mode so we get a better start. The only issue with our start, I did get quite a poor start. I missed the lights, which meant we were already defending from the Red Bull behind. The Ferrari in front goes slow. We have to avoid him. Through the first and second corners, we were alright, staying out of trouble. Round the third corner, we went round the outside to try and stay out of trouble. This Ferrari and Red Bull then hit each other. The Red Bull comes straight across in front of me. I've got no way of avoiding it whatsoever. Completely wipes my front wing off. I then decide to pit at the end of this lap. Decide to put on the hards and just see where we can go from there, try and salvage something. The virtual safety car does then come out because the Alfa Romeo and someone else hit each other at the end of this straight, which brought out the virtual safety car, so that kind of helped us out a bit with the pit stop. Unfortunately, the virtual safety car then ends before I get to the pits. The other problem coming up to this corner, I go too deep, I haven't got any front wing at all, so Mercedes just does me round the outside, which is a bit frustrating. There's nothing I can really do about it. I still decide to pit at the end of this lap anyway and put on the hard tyres, so we come in for the pit stop. There's a couple of guys ahead of us who are doing the same, who clearly ended up with some sort of wing damage or something as well from that whole debacle. So we come into the pits, our pit box is right down the end, we've got to go all the way down. I'm hoping that I can get through before these two guys come out, so I'm past the McLaren and I'm past the Alfa Romeo as well before I come into my pit box. Both of them do get back out ahead of me. purely because I've got to replace my front wing, so I end up with, I believe it's a 9.6 second stop, which really isn't very good for me at all. Not too bad on the exit out of the pit box, and we come back out in 10th place with quite a bit of work to do to try and salvage this race. We're now going to jump to lap 12. We're now in 8th place. We've gained 2 places just from where people have been pitting. We have got a Ferrari behind us, which is 3.9 seconds behind us at this point. It's slowly been gaining on us, but it hasn't really been putting much impact onto our race at all. He just doesn't seem to be able to catch up, even though he's on the mediums. At this point, I've been on these hard tyres for 10 laps. We've weared the rears down to about 22%, which isn't too bad. So I've decided at this point I'm going to try and go to the end of the race on this hard set of tyres, which is really pushing them up to their limit of tyre wear. But it's my only real chance of salvaging anything from this race. The guys ahead of me have been getting slowly further ahead, maybe by about 0.5 of a second each lap. There's nothing I can really do about it now. I'm deciding to try and keep my tyres in decent condition, trying to go to the end of the race on them. I'm short shifting out of corners, trying not to do too much wheel spin. There's the short shift, 3rd through to 4th up to 5th. It's a difficult way to drive, but it's realistically my only way of getting anything out of this race whatsoever. The Ferrari behind, it's not gaining on us at all. We're in a fairly comfortable position. We're just waiting for the rest of the guys ahead of us to start doing some more pit stops, so we can hopefully jump up the order. And then we've just got a case of defending positions on quite used hard tyres to try and get out of the race at the end. Lap 14 is where our fortunes change. Someone obviously has an incident, which brings out the full safety car, which for us is a blessing in disguise. It means that we don't need to go on these hard tyres to the end anymore, try and stretch them out. So I decide instead to come into the pits. Now, I initially decided to put on the mediums, but as I'm coming in, I decide last minute, I'm not sure if they'll make it to the end, I want the hards. Whilst I was doing this, I completely mucked up the speed on entry to the pit lane and ended up with a 5-second penalty. Not good whatsoever. Also, I was still on the mediums, which, thinking about it now and thinking about it in the race, really wasn't that much of a bad decision. All I had to do, these mediums get to the end, was we were going to be behind the safety car for a number of laps. That would really help out my tyre wear no end. So, if I slowly caught up to the back of the safety car queue, rather than flying around and wearing my tyres down, it would mean that I've got faster tyres with less wear than possibly the guys around me who would put on the hards. So it really, in the end, wasn't a bad decision whatsoever. So it took me just over 3 laps to catch up to the back of the safety car queue. And you can see in the bottom right, I've used about 5% tyre wear over the course of those 3 laps. Now, normally around Singapore, on a set of mediums, you're looking at about 4 to 5% tyre wear per lap if you're going full out as quick as you can. And I've done that in 3 laps just by going slower, less on the accelerator, quicker gear changes to short shift out of corners. So I've done 1 lap's worth of tyre wear in 3 laps catching up to the back of the safety car, which really means that these mediums can go to the end of the race fairly comfortably now. We're about to get going again now from being behind the safety car on lap 18. So all manner of chaos descends as we start back under the safety car. The guy at the front slows us all right down like you would. Now coming out this final corner on the left, the guy at the front in the Williams gets completely wiped out by the Alfa Romeo, I think. I slow down to try and avoid that. As I slow down, the yellow flags are technically still out, and the Ferrari comes zooming past me under the yellow flags. I believe he ended up with a penalty for this. I'm not sure. He definitely had penalties added on at the end of his race, so I'd have thought he got a penalty for that, because we were under the yellow flag conditions, which is no overtaking. Anyway, I've lost a place from it, so I'm now into 6th behind this Ferrari. And I end up behind this Ferrari for quite a while. He's got what seems to be a really poor connection. He keeps bottoming him out into the racetrack and just lagging no end, which makes it really difficult to overtake, because if I go for a move, I've got no idea where he might end up. So I just have to bide my time behind this Ferrari and make my move when the opportunity comes up. My opportunity to pass this Ferrari comes a lot sooner than I expected, on the next lap, lap 20 actually. I get a much better run out the corner than he does. I've got to be aware of the fast Williams approaching behind me. Ahead of me, the Ferrari goes deep into this corner, misses his braking point. I get a good run, so it gives me the chance to pull alongside him going into this next corner. I outbrake him. He turns into me. There's nothing I can do about it. I was alongside. I had the right to overtake. This next corner, I leave him space on the inside, go wide. He outbrakes himself again and hits me. There's nothing I can do. If anything, it wrecked his race more than mine. I'm now ahead and somehow didn't get any damage from those two collisions whatsoever. I'm now going to go and chase down this Mercedes in front of me who's on hards, and hopefully I can catch up to him quickly and get past. I've now been there or thereabouts behind this Mercedes for about 4 laps, which is fairly impressive considering he's in the fastest car on the grid in the Mercedes and I'm in arguably the second slowest in the Toro Rosso. I've been maintaining a fairly steady gap and putting on the pressure, and as we go down the straight the Williams is really close behind me and it pulls out to make an overtake. I defend the inside, ahead the Mercedes ditches it into a wall, which really helps me out because the Williams behind was planning on going round the outside of me on his fresher tyres, and arguably he's a faster driver. Because the Mercedes ditched it into a wall, it meant that he couldn't make that move round the outside. I gained a position off the Mercedes and technically gained another position by retaining my position from the Williams because it couldn't make that overtake anymore. Now the inevitable is going to happen. The Williams behind with the faster driver has DRS on me and can gain up behind me on this straight. I move to defend the inside, which is what you should do. I then outbrake myself and end up going wide. I didn't have enough grip, I pushed him off, it's my fault. He then has the inside for this corner, which is quite good for him. He gets the overtake done. I then make a stupid decision and try to go back down the inside. There's no space for me to go down there. He has the racing line, I'm not alongside, he has the right to turn in. Fortunately I didn't spin him, it only mucked up my race. I made a hash of getting away from the wall, and in all of this I end up losing 2 positions to the Ferrari, which I got past earlier, and an Alfa Romeo as well. This is the same lap, lap 25. I've caught up to the Alfa Romeo really quickly, he's quite slow, so it means that I've got a good chance of getting past him nice and early and trying to save a bit of my race. Coming down this straight, I brake and run quite wide, but I've got a really good run. I've got DRS, I just go straight past him. Arguably I had more speed because I went off the track, but I wasn't penalised in any way for it, so I just took the overtake and then got on with the job of trying to hunt down the Ferrari ahead of me. We're now on lap 29, about to go into lap 30. On the previous lap, lap 28, the virtual safety car had been deployed, which gave me a chance to save tyres and save fuel. Now the virtual safety car was gone, it meant I could turn everything up to the max and have a real go at this Ferrari in these final 2 laps. I get a fairly good run down this straight with DRS, it brings me close to him but not enough to overtake. He goes to the inside to defend nothing because I'm not there and ends up outbraking himself and running wide. I take the normal line and get well ahead of him into this 3rd turn. I'm a bit slow, he gets better traction, but I leave him space on the inside and he turns into me for no reason whatsoever. I think it was because he was annoyed that I overtook him. Amazingly, I get out of this with no wing damage whatsoever. I think he knocks off some end plates so damages his front wing, and this now means I can easily pull away from him in these final 2 laps. So we're now approaching the end of the final lap and the end of the race. The Alfa Romeo won the race and was well ahead of me in 2nd place. I had an 8-second time penalty to add on to the end of my race, so I was making sure that the car behind me wasn't within 8 seconds. Thankfully, he was 12 seconds behind and he had a number of penalties to add on himself, which meant that my 2nd place was pretty much in the bag as long as I kept it out the walls on these final few corners. I took it steady, really steady through this final corner and managed to bring the Toro Rosso home in 2nd place, which, considering how the start of my race went with the damaged front wing and then the little spin, was a really good result. Yeah, so in the end we brought it home 2nd, which after the damaged front wing on the 1st lap, the spin with the fight with the Williams and then the contact with the Ferrari on a number of occasions, we put in a really solid drive to bring it home in 2nd. Fair enough, people around us crashed out, we got a bit of luck, but in the end that's what racing is. And We put in a fairly solid drive and I'm quite happy with the P2 at the end of the day. There is the confirmation of our P2. It was a really fun, really eventful race and I can't wait for the next one to go ahead. So thank you for watching and we'll see you soon.
Pull up in the gold, I'm leading. But them other man need feeding. I don't wanna go Bombay. Them I don't know what I do when I go from Beeling. Leading the pack in black and I'm on with the bat. Snapping with a phone and dab. Boss up a man with a duster. Put him in the drip and sip.